Live from central Pennsylvania, this is CBS 21 News at 5.
An officer involved shooting. You have an officer down.
An officer-involved shooting, the first in a series of violent events shaking Pennsylvania. Multiple communities honoring a trooper killed in the line of duty, another hurt. The shooter dead in a scene described as a war zone. 29-year-old trooper Jacques Rougeau killed in the line of duty. 45-year-old Lieutenant James Wagner fighting for his life. The shooter opening fire at Troop G headquarters, then leading authorities on a hunt through Mifflintown.
There's nothing going to convince me that Saturday was going to be his last day. When I looked him in the face, I knew he wasn't going to go much farther.
One man looking into the eyes of the man state police say is a killer, and tonight the story of the state police troopers who fought to protect a central PA community. Thank you for joining us at 6 o'clock. I'm Jasmine Brooks. Trooper Jacques Rougeau has now returned home to Erie County, first arriving by state police plane. His casket then loaded onto a hearse where he was taken to the funeral home. Let's just take a moment to let this somber moment sink in. He'll eventually be laid to rest in the town of Quarry. We do have live team coverage on this tragedy tonight. CBS 21's Jessica Babb spoke to those who knew Trooper Rougeau and explains how he's being remembered. Elise Person is live tonight at Hershey Medical Center, where Lieutenant James Wagner is fighting for his life. But first, Joel D. Smith live in Juniata County. And Joel D., you spoke with a man who was face to face with a man police say killed their brother.
And you will hear that story in just a moment. I want to give a feel for this town, a small town for sure, but this still feels very raw, very real for the folks that went through all this just a couple days ago. This entire street was filled with police officers, and you heard those gunshots. They say it sounded like a war zone. They're still hearing those echoes in their memory right now, all those gunshots. As for the man who lives here, his property, Dave Gray, he's the one who built this little memorial to Jacques Rougeau, the man who died in the line of duty. And actually, Dave, the man who lives here, probably the last person to see the shooter, Brandon Stein, before his fatal shootout with police.
There's nothing going to convince me that Saturday was going to be his last day. When I looked him in the face, I knew he wasn't going to go much farther.
Saturday afternoon, Dave Gray heard the first round of shots and came outside.
And like a big dummy, I get out in the front porch and I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" Looking irate at this guy. And he's driving up through my yard.
The pursuit continued down Swamp Road to his neighbor's property. You can still see where Stein's pickup truck ran over a bush, went through a small cornfield, and stopped at the tree line.
About that time, pop, 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 pop again.
More than a dozen shots went into the pickup truck and this shed as part of the shootout as well. This is where Stein was killed. Back at Dave's property, he took a moment to reflect on what motivated him to create this memorial.
Well, they're here to protect us and serve. It's nothing but right to show him respect. Just a young guy. Bunch of nonsense. Just a bunch of nonsense.
Dave Gray says after this, he decided to go and get his permit so he can carry a pistol around and feel a little more secure around his place. Not everybody has such a personal story about what happened, but in a way this all feels personal. It's such a small community. Right down the street here, that is the restaurant that was on lockdown for a while. Nobody is working there today who was here during that time where all the shots were being fired. But we did talk to some folks in the restaurant who decided to stop by. They say that everyone is thinking about what happened here because this is personal. For them, maybe that's the reason why this is cutting so deep today.
I feel like it would be different if it was somebody maybe just driving through. But when it's somebody that you know is from here, and then I didn't know him personally. You knew where he was from and where his family was from, but it really hits differently, I think, when it's somebody from home.
And of course, there's so many questions that remain as to any kind of motive here, what might have been going on in the shooter's life at that time. There's been some talk about that. That's not the story today. The story is remembering the people that gave up their lives or at least tried to protect others. We're gonna see you just a little bit. I just got some new video in about where this happened, the back part of this property, the route that the shooter took to try to get away from police. You'll see that in just a few minutes. For now though, in Mifflintown, I'm Joel D. Smith. Back to you.
Thank you, Joel D. Tonight, Pennsylvania state troopers and many others in the community are remembering Trooper Jacques Rougeau. He was from Corey, Pennsylvania. That's in Erie County. CBS 21's Jessica Babb continuing our team coverage, showing us why those who knew him say he'll never be forgotten.
Trooper Jacques Rougeau transferred from York to Lewistown in March of this year. I talked with his high school basketball coach, and he said it was always a goal of his to become a state trooper. And it's a goal he accomplished. Up until earlier this year, he was with the patrol unit here in York. This month, he would have been marking his 3rd year with PSP.
We are continually training for that devastating call and our opportunity to stare a threat in its face.
To a room full of soon-to-be PSP graduates back in 2020, these were the words that were spoken.
Jacques F. Rougeau, Jr.
And it's a call 29-year-old trooper Jacques Rougeau answered just 3 years later.
It's sad and tragic that at such a young age that he was taken, but he left an impression that will never go away.
Leaving an impression that will never go away. That's how Rougeau's high school basketball coach, Chad Sutton, describes him.
He was gonna help you out regardless of what it took, and do it with a smile. He pretty much epitomized the person that you would want to be watching over you.
He said he was a captain and a leader on the team, but off the court, selflessly served his community, working with younger kids as a referee for the basketball league.
He was a role model to children in the Corey community.
In 2014, Rougeau interned with the Corey Police Department.
He was drawn to law enforcement because he wanted to help people. He had a smile that would light up a room. He would be a friend to someone who didn't have a friend.
Described as caring and compassionate as he continued his call to service. In a statement from York Station Commander Lieutenant Joseph Spingler, his approach to law enforcement was through a lens of selfless service, approaching every shift with humility and humor, and the injection of positivity was present wherever he went. Spingler says he was an inspiration and is a reminder of why they wear the gray.
Everyone can learn a little bit from just taking even just a small little look at Jay's life. He's well loved and that he will never be forgotten.
Rougeau is the 104th member of PSP to make the ultimate sacrifice, giving their life in the line of duty. For CBS 21, I'm Jessica Babb.
Jessica, thank you. And as Lieutenant James Wagner continues to fight for his life at Hershey Medical Center, that is where Elise Person joins us live tonight, continuing our team coverage with the latest on his condition. Elise?
Jasmine, well, the very latest we know is that Lieutenant James Wagner went in for additional surgeries today here at Hershey Medical Center, and they're hoping for the best. All that information is coming from Captain Kirk Reese, commander of PSP's Troop E. The American Association of State Troopers say the 45-year-old lieutenant is the father of 3 boys and serves as the station commander for the Bedford Station in Troop G. Wagner became a lieutenant in 2019 but began his career with PSP over 20 years ago. Wagner enlisted in the state police in September of 2002, and after graduating from the academy, he was assigned to Troop K in Philadelphia. In his over 2 decades with the state police, Wagner has moved through the ranks, serving with Troops K and G, the Bureau of Criminal Intelligence, and the Bureau of Communications and Informative Services. He's also a veteran of the U.S. Navy and Pennsylvania Army National Guard and currently serves in the U.S. Navy Reserves. Now, I was in touch today with one of his family members, and they say they're so appreciative for all the prayers they've received. And moving forward, there's actually a GoFundMe that you can find on our website, cbs21.com, that's raising money for all the medical expenses moving forward. Jasmine, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Elise. The shooting on Saturday spanned multiple crime scenes throughout Mifflintown. State police say Brandon Stein was the shooter and that he was playing a game of cat and mouse. It all started at the Troop G headquarters, where officials say Stein opened fire at patrol cars in the parking lot. The hours-long search went through multiple parts of the community. State police say around 12:45, Lieutenant Wagner was shot by Stein. Trooper Rougeau was shot and killed around 2:30. Everything came to an end around 3 p.m. on Saturday. Officials say they do not have a motive for the incident, and Stein was not on their radar beforehand. PSP says there are 2 charities for anyone wishing to help the families of Trooper Rougeau and Lieutenant Wagner. Donations can be sent to the Pennsylvania State Troopers Association Survivors Fund. That's at 3625 Barton Way in Harrisburg. Contributions can also be made to the Troopers Helping Troopers Foundation. You can find out more about the nonprofit on troopershelpingtroopers.org. The donations will go directly to both of the victims' families. We do have more coverage of this tragic story at CBS21.com. There you can follow everything from the beginning and get more details on that timeline. Stay with us throughout the night for more coverage from Juniata County and Hershey as well. One last look at our top story tonight, the fallout from the shooting that left one state trooper dead and another fighting for his life. All of this happening in Juniata County. Joel D. Smith live in Mifflintown tonight with a closer look at the route the man authorities say shot the troopers took through one resident's home.
That's right. So we're on the property of Dave Gray right now, and this is the way that they say that the shooter actually went. This is Kilmer Road. Flying this way, and they say driving fast. Troopers in pursuit. Goes around that house, around Dave's house there in the back, almost accessed the 4-lane highway in the back, but then took a left and came up the tree line here near the fences. Let's pick up the video from there, and this is where he's coming through. Now, the way they describe this is they had the police funneling him, trying to get him across the street so he could not escape back on to this road, Swamp Road, right or left, and that is why he instead went across the street, went over the street, bouncing high in the air in the pickup truck, going over that bush, through that small patch of corn, and then eventually ending up in the berm at the end with some more gunfire. That is where he lost his life. As for the person who lives here, Dave Gray, we talked to him about this encounter. Now looking back, you were eye to eye with him for a second or two. How did he look?
He looked like today was going to be his last day. There's nothing going to convince me that he went to the state police barracks and shot 2 shots into a marked car. And then the chase was on.
The chase was on and the chase ended here. We're actually standing just a couple steps away from where Jacques Rougeau lost his life. Tough couple days here in Juniata County, but they're coming together to try to get through it. For now, back to you.
All right, Joel D., thank you. And make sure to stay with CBS 21 on air and online as we continue to follow this tragedy. You can follow us on social media and turn on those notifications on our app so you can get updates as soon as we do. Tune in tonight at 10 and 11 for more from our Elise Person.